Hey guys, good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live. I'm Saquon. Before we get started, don't forget you can always watch us and listen to us on your own time. Take us with wherever you go. You can find us on our InForum YouTube channel, your favorite podcast platform, and on inforum.com/podcasts under the InForum Minute as well. You guys, if you're tuning in live on Facebook this morning, are probably like, say, what are you wearing? Well, it's really cold in here right now, and I'm sorry, but I really didn't want to take it off. But I thought it was kind of fitting because it's also really, really cold out there, at least in my opinion. I think it's pretty chilly out. And just given the fact that yesterday was so warm out, that this drastic change is going to feel a lot colder than what we're used to. So wanted to talk about temperatures a little bit because Leah and Dylan were kind of talking to us about this cool down. Again, big drop in temperatures when we're comparing it to yesterday. But yeah, it seems like that trend is going to be continuing here within the next 10 days, as we saw from our 10-day forecast from Lydia. So just wanted to let you guys know, give you guys a heads up. The cool down is here, and it seems like yesterday could have been our last 70. So just wanted to put it out there. Start getting those winter gear clothes out because it's going to be that time before we know it. So yeah, I thought I could use my jacket as a nice little segue into that. Okay, let's talk about your headlines this morning. A Bemidji man we know is seriously hurt after he rolled his semi that was pulling a trailer in rural Polk County. It happened in a town just near Fosston, Minnesota, right around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. We're learning from deputies this morning the driver, 66-year-old David Chomelski, lost control of his truck, went into the ditch before rolling back onto the road. He was taken to a hospital in Fargo. Deputies are saying they think he was wearing a seatbelt, and they do not think alcohol was a factor in this crash. So we'll keep tracking this for you, and we'll let you know how he's doing once we hear back. We also now know the names of a Grand Forks couple who died in a crash just northwest of town. They are 69-year-olds Stephen and Constance Rowe. They were driving in their minivan just along 27th Avenue North, right by the landfill, the Grand Forks landfill. As they were crossing 69th Street, they were hit by a semi driven by 55-year-old James Richardson of Grand Forks. He was not hurt in this crash. We're also asking police right now if charges are going to be filed. They tell us nothing has been forwarded to the state's attorney's office so far. So we'll let you know if that happens. Also, North Dakotans, your health insurance could be going up next year. I know that probably perked some of your ears. So state regulators just approved premium increases for 2023. These changes are going to affect people covered through small group and individual markets. Now, the highest maximum increase in the small group market was 12.5% for the Sanford Health Plan. In the individual market, maximum increases range from 4.5% for Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota to just over 15% for Medica. So just wanted to put that out there, of course, for North Dakotans. Also, right now, the family of a 14-year-old boy in Nevis, Minnesota, just north of Park Rapids, is asking for your help to find him. He's actually been missing since Monday. We're talking about Levi Selseth. He was driving his grandparents' Ford Excursion. That car has the Minnesota plates ADT 442. His family is saying that he was planning to come home just a couple of days ago, but they have not heard from him since. So if you think you know where Levi is, you are asked to call 911 or the Hubbard County Sheriff's Office. At this number here, it's 218-732-3331. We also know Moorhead City Council members are kind of in this weird flunk where they just need some more time right now before deciding what to do about the city's ordinance when it comes to selling CBD products. So they voted to table the discussion because of some concerns over license fees and the possibility, of course, of selling products to underage people. Now, the ordinance calls for not allowing the products to be sold inside homes and proposing a yearly licensing fee of $125 for sellers. But one council member is saying that it should actually be $3,000 a year instead, which would account for some possible fines if children are caught with CBD. So we'll, of course, let you know when the council decides to pick up those discussions again. And yeah. We're also tracking an update on a $55 million referendum in Grand Forks. We're now learning how much it's expected to cost to either update or completely rebuild Valley Middle School. So we're hearing from Icon Architects, which is the group behind this project, that to renovate the school, it'll cost about $45 million. To completely rebuild, it's looking at about $52 million. Now, if you remember, a $55 million was set, a $55 million referendum was set for the end of last month, but that was delayed because Icon, the school district wanted a more in-depth release or a report from Icon. Well, the board does have a meeting set for next Tuesday where it's expected to work on a survey to gauge interest in that referendum. Today, jury deliberations are set to start in the trial of Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz. The prosecution is saying that the appropriate sentence for him is now the death penalty. Cruz actually pleaded guilty to killing 17 people, hurting 17 others when he opened fire inside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School 4 years ago. Today, the case, of course, is now in the hands of the jury to decide whether to recommend life in prison or the death penalty for him. Prosecution, of course, pushing for the death penalty, whereas the defense argues for life in prison. And they're pointing to the fact that Cruz was, in quote, a brain-damaged, broken, mentally ill person at the time of the shooting. So we'll, of course, watch this closely, as I'm sure many of you will as well, and we'll continue following this case. Okay, some changes out of Disneyland this morning. So if you're planning on going there anytime soon, you might have to dish out a little bit more cash. Here's why. Disney actually just raised prices of tickets to its Anaheim parks in California in nearly every category. So this includes also the Disney Genie Plus and the Lightning Lane services. The jump is about $10 more for each tier of single park tickets, about $15 more for each tier of multi-park tickets. And in 5 years, guys, Disneyland, its ticket prices have actually increased by 36% in just a 5-year span. And lastly, Minnesota is working to bring the Big Ten championship to the U.S. Bank Stadium. Fun fact, I've actually only been to the U.S. Bank Stadium for everything else that has nothing to do with the Vikings. Like, I think I went there right when it was done. It was finished with construction for our high school state football game, and then we went there for an event one time. Just kind of weird. Like, I'm from Minnesota. That's embarrassing on my part. But anyway, okay, enough about me. So the championship, of course, hasn't been played anywhere else since, except for the Lucas Oil Stadium in Indiana since 2011. Well, Minnesota is saying, I want to see that change. So U.S. Bank isn't going to be hosting any future Big Ten games or any games in the near future, I should say, but it is hoping to place a bid for the 2025 championship. So, of course, you guys know U.S. Bank has hosted many sporting events, including Women's NCAA Final Four and Super Bowl 51, most notably. Okay, Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, 9 to 11, WDAY Extra, InForum.com. Today's Wednesday, which means he's going to be having Dick Bremer on. He is the voice of the Minnesota Twins. And I'm not exactly sure what else Dom will be talking about today, but he's always got a lot of great guests on and a lot of great things to talk about. Would not be surprised if he talked about the Washington Commanders coach and his comments when asked about, the season so far and how that ties into Carson Wentz, of course, NDSU quarterback. So I would not be surprised if he brought up the Washington Commanders coach and his comments after the fact that he already made a comment on Carson Wentz. So he just clarified things, but would not be surprised to hear that on his show today. So again, that's on WDAY Extra and InForum.com from 9 to 11 this morning. Okay, and on InForum.com, we had this story on First News as well. Here's the headline for you. It's North Dakota Attorney General Wrigley hands off cost overrun investigation to Montana. So there's a whole investigation right now into North Dakota's budget that went over by nearly $2 million in March of 2020. And this was all under former Attorney General Wayne Stenjum. So we do know investigators are now going to be looking into it. But it focuses a little bit more on, how this happened and state records and things like that. So if you're interested in kind of getting caught up on that situation, definitely do that on InForum.com. All right, before we go, of course, don't forget, for 99 cents a month for your first 3 months, you can get an all-access pass to InForum.com. All you got to do is go on InForum.com/subscribe, and that's it for today's headlines. Don't forget, though, we got your 11 o'clock news with Becky Parker and Dylan Vogt, so make sure you go join them. And then our coverage continues in the evening from 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10, and then we'll be back here tomorrow morning from 5 to 7, so hope you can join us. In the meantime, stay warm out there. Have a good day.